Okay,
Well,
here. This is the top news story of today. There was a woman who was killed over her displays, her regular displays of showing pride flags in her store in California. This is a sad story. We're going to talk about that right now.
Horror this evening after a 66-year-old California businesswoman was murdered following an argument about the rainbow pride flag she displayed outside her store. In a moment, we'll speak to her daughter, the daughter of Lori Ann Carlton. Everyone called her Lori, about the mother she lost and the love and acceptance her mom displayed with that flag and all throughout her life. But first, CNN's Josh Campbell has more on what happened.
Yeah, she had 9 kids.
It is an international symbol of equality. The mere act of proudly displaying it leading to Lori Carlton's death.
Over a flag? Come on. I mean, we've lost a lot of people in our country over our flags, and some people don't like them.
66-year-old Carlton was shot inside her Southern California clothing boutique Friday following a confrontation over the pride flag displayed outside the shop's entrance.
This is absolutely devastating. No one should die for who they love or for standing in solidarity with love.
Reaction to Carlton's death poured in on social media, including Hollywood director and friend Paul Feig, who directed films including Bridesmaids and the reboot of Ghostbusters.
Okay, this
We're
part
all
is
devastated for her husband Bort and her family and the LGBTQ plus community for whom Lori was such a true ally. Governor Gavin Newsom posted, "This disgusting hate has no place in California." Carlton, a mother of 9 children, did not identify as LGBT, but advocated for everyone in the community. The organization Lake Arrowhead LGBTQ+ said in a statement, "She will be truly missed." Carlton's daughter.
there were altercations numerous times over her constantly putting up the LGBT rainbow flags. And, you know, despite it being taken down, she was like, no, I'm going to put it back up
the New York
again.
Times,
Fuck you.
the flag hanging outside the store had been removed numerous times by different people over the course of the past 2 years. Authorities say the suspect fled on foot, armed with a handgun, and was killed during an encounter with police. Detectives learned the suspect made several disparaging remarks about a rainbow flag that stood outside the store before shooting.
For the record, if you look at his profile, and a lot of people basically scoured the shooter's profile beforehand, I assume you won't be shocked to find out that this is yet another Trump supporter who became more and more radicalized and thought Trump wasn't hard enough on the LGBT, who, of course, was radicalized by the obvious Fox News and adjacent far-right communities all over the internet. You know, this is something that we have talked about many times over. It's sad. It's unfortunate. It's devastating. Don't know if we'll ever be able to put a damper on this sort of thing. It seems like we just have to sit back and wait for the right-wing commentators from personally choosing to stop doing this kind of advocacy, because there's no other way to stop this kind of advocacy.
Shooting Carlton. The shooting comes as the LGBTQ community faces ongoing threats of violence and an unprecedented wave of anti-LGBTQ+ legislation in 2023, according to the Human Rights Campaign.
New details just released after a deadly mass shooting at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado.
It was so scary. I heard shots, broken glass, bodies. How? Why?
You can draw a straight line to those murders from the hateful rhetoric and lies that have been spread.
Fox News needs to be held accountable and charged. What the fuck? Dude, are you kidding me? I mean, guys, I'm old enough to remember that Bill O. motherfucking Riley was responsible for the direct execution of Dr. Tiller, who he called Tiller the baby killer. So this is not the first time that this has happened, and it won't be George Tiller. This is not the first time this has happened, and it won't be the last time this has happened. This will continue happening. This will continue to happen over and over and over again. I love the right-wing spin on it, making him out to be a leftist because he spoke out against the police, more likely because they're the ones that had to deal with him in the past fucked up situations. Obviously not blaming this on mental illness, but being indoctrinated by this shit is a mental illness in and of itself. Yeah. But, of course, once again, where a right-wing stochastic terrorist acts out the desires of the right. And here he is, by the way, reposting fucking Matt Walsh. What Target is doing is far worse than anything Bud Light did. They're selling chest binders and tuck-friendly bathing suits for children. Or Jordan Peterson. Simple normality has now become an offense punishable by the woke mob of narcissists and psychopaths. Or Benny Johnson. This is child abuse, and the parents and criminal groomer should be arrested. Can anyone defend this? Photo taken in D.C. today. Here he is, Travis Kikuchi, the shooter, literally quote tweeting this. LGB cut off from the TQIA. This tactic is not going to solve anything. Where you are cutting off the legs of the octopus, can grow back another one. Kill the octopus, not just his legs. Saying what I've said time and time again about these fucking zealots, that they don't give a shit about the gay people either. That this is far closer to the American far-right Christians and their attitude towards homosexuality than the British version of this, where it has worked, where British people are like, yeah, we're fine with gay people, but just not with trans people. This does not necessarily work with the American psychos who care way too much. The man who murdered San Bernardino store owner and mother of 9, Lori Carlton, over the weekend was being fed a steady diet of anti-LGBTQ hate by right-wing media personalities like Matt Walsh, Jordan Peterson, and Benny Johnson. Nobody's born with hate like this, says Ari Drennan from Media Matters. This is, the final stage. And once again, whenever a right-wing loser acts out the desires of Matt Walsh, the right immediately come to terms and go, how do we turn around and say he's actually gay and a Fed, or this is a psyop, or he was actually a leftist? There is absolutely nothing to do with being a leftist. Here is his Gab profile and his Twitter profile. Follow God's law, repent from iniquities, and give your baggage and accept Jesus Christ. Do not compromise with Satan's laws, democracy, nor its agents, police officers. An anti-Freemasonry, anti-Zionism, anti-Jesuit, anti-paganism, same-sex marriage should be abolished. And the Federal Reserve System. Anti-1488 guy, and seek no revenge but to defend yourself and love against criminals and government agents. So he's like far right, but he's like, I don't fuck with the Nazis. Classic. Yeah, he's not a Nazi, he's a Christo-fascist. America must repent for a lot of things we allow: abortion, baby killing, sexual immortality. What the fuck does that mean? People be gaining immortality through sex? Pornography, I think he meant immorality, but same-sex marriages, LGBTQP/pedophilia, Freemasonry, religiosity, politics, wars, colonialism, the Federal Reserve. We allow the Federal Reserve to make profit off of these abominations. We allow the judicial supremacist groups to make decisions for us, and we don't notice it. There's no political solution. We must repent and accept Christ in our hearts. Share this with others too, please. And here was his pinned tweet, which was a pride flag burning with the caption, "What to do with the LGBTQ flag?" Yeah. He was also getting fed a healthy diet of psychotic bullshit that was also openly, or maybe in some instances, secretly anti-Semitic, from the likes of Illuminati Bot on Twitter. Accounts that get thousands of dollars from Elon Musk's pockets directly. And he would get even more violent on Gab. What the fuck? Why is Mel Gibson in there? This is stop listening to celebrities, accept him. They're literal Satanists. It's because Mel Gibson is famous for his anti-Semitic rants and his racist rants. That's why. There's no better. I mean, this is the most obvious thing. What do you mean? They're saying all these celebrities are satanic perverts or whatever, except for Mel Gibson because he made Passion of the Christ and also is like very anti-Semitic. Yeah, and also every time you're confused, why is there a P on the LGBTQ? He means pedophiles. He's looping pedophilia in with the queer community, claiming it's a classic, claiming that the queer community are grooming and doing pedophilia.
About Drag Queen Story Hour.
Police in New York are looking for this man. He's seen throwing the brick at a window of an LGBTQ plus bar in New York City. It is the third time this same bar has had its windows smashed.
After this video was released showing a woman getting out of a white SUV and setting a pride flag on fire in front of Little Prince restaurant in Soho, an arrest has been made.
When hate is paired with a gun, the results are deadly. And when our elected leaders promote hateful rhetoric and push discriminatory policies, they foster this culture where this kind of violence is a result.
Meanwhile, in this small California mountain town, members of the community are grieving the loss of the latest apparent victim of anti-LGBT hate in America.
I never dreamed something like this could happen in this community.
Josh, I understand police have just released some new information.
Yeah, a significant update just moments ago from the San Bernardino County Sheriff. The suspect in this case has now been identified as 27-year-old Travis Ikaguchi of San Bernardino County, California. Authorities say it took some time to identify him because after he was shot and killed, he didn't have identification on his person. Now, as if we needed further proof this was an anti-LGBT act here, authorities say that at the store Friday afternoon, he tore down the flag outside of the store and was yelling, according to authorities, homophobic slurs. Carlton then confronted him. She was shot and killed. Authorities say that he fled about a mile away. He was firing upon sheriff's deputies who ultimately returned fire, shooting and killing him. Finally, it's important to note that authorities say they have uncovered a significant social media presence by the suspect. He had an account on Twitter as well as an account on Gab, which of course is a platform that's popular with the far right. Authorities, Anderson, say that they found many homophobic posts on that account as well as anti-police posts.
All right, Josh Campbell, appreciate it. Thank you. Joining me now is Lori Carlton's daughter, Ari Carlton. Ari, I'm so sorry that we're talking under these circumstances. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm so sorry for your loss. How are you holding up? I mean,
well, me and my family are just trying to, take it hour by hour, trying to find some sense of normalcy and finding that that's the hardest part. Just coming to terms with the new normal without our matriarchy.
I mean, your mom sounds like such an incredible lady. And her interest, I know, in fashion goes way back. I was reading she worked at Fred Siegel, like when she was just starting out. What do you want people to know about her?
Well, it's a loaded question. My mom and I were very close because she had such a long history in the retail industry and was such a pioneer in it. And I myself have been in the retail industry my whole life, and I owe that to her. But I think what I really just want people to know about her was just how selfless and kind and compassionate she was. She always put the needs of others ahead of her own. And we had a really rough winter here in Southern California, and her and my father had opened up a free store next to Magpie where they gave out food and supplies to the families that were impacted by the storms here. And I think that really just goes to show what an incredible person that she was.
I mean, it's so sickening to imagine that this...
America is a powder keg, okay? It is a powder keg ready to fucking erupt. If you make anti-gay shit your wedge issue, your primary issue, some people are going to turn around and make that their whole lives mission, okay? And they have guns, and they have ease of access to guns. So ultimately, someone is going to grab the gun and take matters into their own fucking hands. And that's precisely what happened here. It's super sad. I don't know. I've said this before with respect to right wing politics in general, where like this has been a constant in American politics for a very long time, where you just kind of have to live with it. There's not really anything you can do about it. You know what I mean? It's like they like the right will always take matters in their own hands. They will always behave in this incredibly inhumane, incredibly cruel, and incredibly violent way. And I feel like I'm crazy when I look at the situation and there's like not really anything you can do. You can't take their guns. You can't stop them. You can't de-radicalize them. And the media absolutely keeps pushing pushing the boundaries further. They just like get more and more violent. Matt Walsh is a great example of this, where he will just like openly defend these kinds of actions, or will turn around and victim blame and say, well, what were you expecting? You put a fucking pride flag on there, you know? And that's basically what he said after the Q nightclub shooting. Tim Pool basically said that after the Q nightclub shooting. What are we expecting? They literally said these guys are responsible for their own demise because, you know, they're grooming children. You know,
is how you're.
And he said that, and yes, as you pointed out, Chatter, there was no consequences for saying that. You know what I mean? There was no social isolation for that reason. There was no chastising. We just kind of moved on from it.
Mom's life ended. I mean, did your mom talk to you about why it was important for her to display the pride flag, and also the reactions she'd gotten, positive or negative, over the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think for her, it was just something that was so important, and she was so fearless. And any negative reaction, you know, she just.
No, I'm not talking about Pulse. I'm talking about Q. And you said because people agree with them. Okay. There's plenty more who don't. We know for an objective fact that the majority of Americans think that the Republican Party's handling on trans issues goes way too far. That's 54%. The overwhelming majority of Americans believe that, like, you know, queer rights should be protected, especially gay marriage and the like. It doesn't matter. It's the loud minority, but let's say it was the loud majority, right? Let's say these guys were the majority. Does that make it right? If the majority of Americans think that you should be able to kill gay people on sight, you just execute them on sight, does that turn it all of a sudden into the correct thing? The majority believing that schools should be segregated, does that make it right? The majority believing for a long time that slavery is perfectly valid, especially when you don't consider black people to be a part of the majority. Does that make it okay? No, right? And one thing you have to remember is that the majority's opinion, especially if it's about civil liberties to marginalized groups, like, for example, giving bodily autonomy to women to make medical decisions over their own bodies, well, that gets cast aside fairly easily, doesn't it? Where the Supreme Court makes decisions on behalf of the American population, decisions that actually end up hurting the the Republican Party's polling numbers.
Just powered through. The flags had been torn down before by different individuals, and she always went and ordered an even larger flag in response and put it up. So, you know,
What's wrong with letting them make a decision? What do you mean?
I admire her and I'm so proud of her. And I know that she passed standing up for something that she believed in.
Had she ever been afraid for her safety? You'd said some of the pride flags she'd put up had been torn down in the past. Was she ever afraid?
No. Yeah. No, she was fearless and she was confident. And she wasn't afraid to stand up to anybody.
I read that your mom had actually ordered a new pride flag because the old one was fading.
Yeah. When we arrived home on Friday night after the incident occurred, there was a package on the doorstep. And it was a new flag. And she had told my dad that she had ordered it because the one that had been hanging had naturally faded from the sun.
Wait, I'm sorry. The new flag had arrived, was waiting on your doorstep when you got home after your mom had been killed.
Yes.
I can't imagine what that was like, even seeing that.
Yeah. It was hard and emotional. But I mean, even the store now, and she has another store down in LA, so many supporters and people that were a part of our community have gone and put up their own flags and rainbow flowers and so many
Everybody
things.
chilled. Stop shitting. Look, I love shitting on Anderson Cooper, but like he is a gay dude. Okay, everybody calm down. You know, he's not just like operating in the capacity as a TV anchor and a fucking journalist here. I mean, you know, I don't think he's being a reptile.
One of your
here.
friends actually reached out to you to tell you what seeing that flag at your mom's store had meant for her and her family.
Yeah. I mean, we've received so many messages from people that we knew or know, strangers from around the world. But I think one of the most touching messages was from someone.
Like in his mind, he's honoring her memory. Okay, everybody, that's what they're doing.
My twin sister and I grew up here, and we would spend the summer months here, and we attended a dance camp. And me and my sister are identical twins, and this individual had an identical twin as well, and we bonded over that. And she messaged us this morning to let us know that she had driven past my mom's store a couple of weeks ago and seen the pride flag, and that gave her the courage and the push to go home and come out to her family. And that really resonated with us. And I know that's really all that my mom wanted, was for everybody here to feel safe and loved and accepted for who they were. Sorry.
Well, is there anything else you want people to know or share about your mom?
Yeah,
So at what point do we recognize these random acts of violence are a direct cause of the rhetoric being spouted by the groomers of the right-wing media machine? And once that's recognized, how much is it deemed necessary to fight back? I mean, it is 100% their fault. Absolutely, without a doubt. And I don't think it matters. Like I said, and not to be too defeatist here, but this has happened time and time again, and it literally doesn't stop. You know what I mean? They get no punishments for it, and life goes on. Or if anything, they get more prominence. And it's getting worse. And I don't know what to do. I don't know. Yeah, we covered it. The guy had retweeted Matt Walsh, Jordan Peterson. He only followed 19 people on X, One American News, former President Donald Trump, conspiracy theorist David Knight, who once worked with Alex Jones. The shooter also followed and boosted right-wing professors and conspiracy theory promoter Jordan Peterson, anti-vax activist Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the right-wing satirical website Babylon Bee. He kept retweeting Matt Walsh.
I want to make sure that no matter what the circumstances were surrounding her death, that
We're talking about like people sending bomb threats at the behest of libs of fucking TikTok and Matt Walsh to like children's hospitals. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter.
that we just focus on who she was as a person, just beautiful inside and out, and that we all move forward by preaching love and acceptance and equality in her honor. I know I sure will.
Well, you've had a great role model, and will continue to. Ari Carlton, I appreciate your time.